Hey everyone, we're having such a beautiful spring day today. It's probably plus 10 right now, and it's supposed to go up even warmer today. That's Celsius, so it's about 50 degrees Fahrenheit. It's so nice. I know it's not going to last. It's one of our many fool's springs, and it's going to be just hovering above freezing again next week. But for this week, we're just in it for some beautiful spring weather. And it has me thinking about starting my March seeds. I've already started some of the cold tolerant crops like my peas. I've already started them. And of course my brassicas I started in February. So that's cauliflower, broccoli, cabbages, kohlrabi, kale I forgot, but I've just started kale recently. And those ones are going to come out to the garden and actually be under a row cover like this in just maybe 2 weeks. And I've started the hardening off process today. I am putting them in the shade. Never try to bring your plants out for the first time and put them right in the sun because the sun will fry their delicate indoor leaves. So mine are in the shade right now. I will do a more in-depth video on hardening off though, because there's some important considerations. As with all things gardening, you do you can do it your own way, but there are some tips I can probably impart on you if you're new to hardening off plants that will save you a lot of heartache. The seedlings that I start in March usually fall into two categories. There's the cold weather crops that are actually going to come outside really soon. And then there's the warm weather crops that I'm starting now because it's super early and they're going to grow for a long time in the house, and then they're going to come outside in, the second week of May usually is the last frost date in my area. It's hard to gauge. Sometimes it's like the first week of May, sometimes it's the middle of May. Either way, first half of May is when we can bring our warm weather crops outside. So if we want to get those ready to harvest earlier in the season, or if we want them to have time at all to harvest in the season, we have to start some of these things earlier inside. The big one in that category for me that I start in March is tomatoes. I start them typically the first day of spring. It's like a tradition. So whether that's March 21st or 22nd, whatever it ends up being, the first official day of spring. And then along with that, I start my basils. I do Genovese basil, or everleaf is the variety that I really love for like pestos, just your typical culinary basil. So everleaf basils I'll start now, and then some mammoth basil. Usually I go for the big leafed basils. You'll see them called lettuce leaf basils or mammoth basils. I'll start those a little bit later because I want those to be ready to harvest when my beefsteak tomatoes are ready to harvest. I just like to pair those two together. And the big tomatoes usually don't come on until like the end of July. And then I've got these mammoth basils that are going to seed in the garden before I've been able to harvest them if I were to start them now. So I typically start those a little later. Basil is a good one to succession sow. So you can plant some seeds for it now, and then you can plant some seeds for it in May. You can even plant some seeds for it like the end of June and have some nice fresh summer basil if you have a tendency for your basil to go to seed when you don't want it to. What else? Okay, so for more seeds like tomatoes that just need to be started early so that you have time to get a harvest from them, but that are warm weather crops, so we can't plant them outside until after the last frost date in spring. We've got cucamelons. Cucamelons are a plant that I will never go without. They're so delightful. We have a lot of problems growing cucumbers here because of the pest pressure. Cucumber beetles are awful. The striped ones are the dominant species here, but we've recently started to get the spotted one as well. Climate change, they're moving further north, and they'll decimate your cucumber plants, mostly in my case, by spreading a virus. They'll spread like cucumber mosaic virus and just kill your plants dead fast. So I do a bit of succession planting of cucumbers, and I try a lot of hybrids that say they're disease resistant, but because I struggle with cucumbers, I will always plant cucamelons. These are not susceptible. At least I've never had a virus hit them when there's a cucumber virus in my garden. I've never had cucumber beetles do significant damage to cucamelons. Like, yes, I've seen one or two on the plants, but they don't do a lot of damage. And although cucamelons can take a while to really get going, they're prolific when they do get going. I usually plant 2 plants, and I grow them up over a trellis, and for like the entire month of August, I'm filling containers of them, and my counter's just covered in pint jars of fermenting cucamelons to make cucamelon pickles. And the kids love just grabbing them and eating them. They're wonderful. So I will always grow cucamelons, and I start those in March. A side note on the cucamelons, apparently, like with dahlias, you can dig up cucamelon tubers, store them over winter, and then have a head start. My cucamelons have not produced tubers, which is weird, or rhizomes, or anything under the ground that I could actually pull up and store. It was just roots. I've tried this twice now where I've pulled up my plant in the fall and it's just roots. So maybe my season's just too short and the plant is not maturing to the point where it actually puts on growth on a tuber or a rhizome. Anyway, just a side note. I start them from seed every year. What else? Okay, so that's it for the summer crops that I'm starting now. Just a note, I don't think I did a video on like all the seeds that I start in January and February. I've talked about them a little bit in the various videos I've done in January and February, but things like peppers and eggplants, if you're growing eggplants, I'm not this year, those you start earlier. You could probably get away with starting in March, although at this point I would say go to a garden center and just buy some seedlings for those because it's getting a little late to actually get your bang for your buck out of your garden space. You might get ripe peppers if you started them now, but it would be like the end of the summer, and you might as well buy a mature plant and then you've got peppers coming in earlier. Oh, and then there's some flowers that I've started now. I got these black hollyhock seeds from an Etsy seller. It was an impulse buy. I was there for something else and I saw they had black hollyhocks and I couldn't resist. So I've sowed those. Chamomile, I like to have chamomile a little early. You can direct seed it for sure, like just sprinkle it in the garden. But I like to start it inside, A, so I can find it and I'm sure it's come up as a seedling, and B, just to have it flower a little bit earlier. I love chamomile tea, only fresh though, only fresh chamomile tea. Nasturtiums are another flower that I start now. Again, a lot of people direct sow nasturtiums, but with my medium length season, I like to have them blooming for as long as possible, and I've had them start blooming as early as the end of May. If I've started the seeds inside around now, and then I transplant them out. Especially for the big climbing nasturtiums, I want them to climb over a trellis or something. I give them a head start because I don't want to have to wait until the end of summer to finally see that vision come to fruition. Marigolds, carnations, globe amaranth, calendula. These are all potager garden flower seeds that I start in March. A lot of these are fine to be direct sowed. Calendula is incredibly cold hardy. It doesn't mind going out in the cool weather, can handle a frost, but I do like to start it inside to get a bit of a head start on it, and then you get more flowers in the garden earlier. Okay, what else? Oh, there's a couple on here that are cold weather crops that you technically could have started a while back, so like in January. But you don't have to start seeds just because you can start seeds. I tend to look at how long a plant takes to grow from seed to harvest. And then I look on the calendar at when I want to be harvesting that particular food, or when I want to be processing it, when I want to be dealing with that coming ripe in the garden. And then I work backwards and I determine when I want to plant them. And so for things like leeks and even celery, I like to use those in the fall. I really don't cook much with leeks or celery in the summer. I mean, I guess it's good to have some celery for like veggie trays. Oh, shoot, I guess I should have started celery earlier. This year I thought, you know what? I just want them in soups and stews. I don't want them getting pithy or overripe in the garden. So I'm going to wait until March. Now I started my leeks March 1st, and I'm hoping that they'll be ready just before frost. Like they'll be nice sized leeks, and then going into the winter, I'll have perfect leeks under cover to harvest all winter long. And then celery, same deal. It's not going to last all winter, but it is surprisingly cold hardy. So celery is one that I want it to grow through the summer, but then really come into its own at the end of summer and early fall, which is why I'm starting them in March. But you could have started them super early. Now on to the cool weather crops that I could direct sow if I could see more soil. I'm going to wait just a little bit longer to direct sow, but there is a fly on my camera. And I don't know if it's going to end up in the video, whatever. But the big ones for me are beets and spinach. Spinach is actually a much better fall crop where I live because in the spring days get hot really fast, and then spinach bolts. It sends up a seed stalk, the leaves stop producing. It does not like the warmth, and we just get such a roller coaster of temperature in the spring, whereas in the fall it pretty much stays a suitable spinach temperature all throughout September and even October, and I can put a row cover on it, get 2 months of insect-free spinach harvesting. It's not that easy in the spring. It's more like I get maybe a month of harvesting, and then I'm battling pests, aphids, whatever. And then I have to put shade cloth over it. It's a whole thing. But I do start some spinach. Mostly I eat last year's spinach that I overwinter. So I come out in the garden and the first thing that's popped up in my raised beds is last year's spinach. In fact, it's still there. You can scrape snow off of it and find it. So that's how I do spinach usually. I don't start much of it in the spring from seed. But now is the time. If you see bare soil, I think they only need like 2 or 3 degrees Celsius temperature to germinate and grow. So if you see bare soil in your garden, the sun is shining, go ahead and try some spinach seeds and some radish seeds. Oh, Swiss chard. Swiss chard I start inside because I don't know why, I just always have, but you could also direct sow Swiss chard. It's a cold weather crop. It doesn't mind it cold at all. And I grow about 2 or 3 Swiss chard plants. We really do like Swiss chard, but they grow huge here. It's something about our climate, I don't know. They grow massive. The other year we had a Swiss chard plant and its trunk was the size of my leg. Like, it had baby plants jutting off the sides of this trunk. It was wild. Did you know, if you think you don't love Swiss chard, it's better in the cold weather. So maybe wait and start it in like July, and then you'll have a fall Swiss chard when the cool weather sets in. Or use it for its stalks. Swiss chard stalks are amazing. Pickled, you can do like a spicy, sour, pickled Swiss chard stalk. They're crunchy. Especially if you get them young before they get stringy, but also they can be really sweet just steamed. My kids love Swiss chard stalks, and you can get the rainbow ones, so they're pretty. So if you don't think you like the leaves because they have that slight geosmin taste, kind of earthy, a little bit bitter, a little bit of a, like it sticks to your teeth, that taste. I'm really not selling Swiss chard. We like it though. If you don't like it for that reason, just try the stalks. The stalks are just as prolific as the leaves. And then you can just toss the leaves to your neighborhood rabbits, or if you have chickens, or put them in your worm bin, whatever. It's not a waste. In fact, the goldfinches eat so many of our Swiss chard leaves, and then we're left with just the stalks anyway. So might as well make something awesome out of them. Okay, I could go on and on about things to do with the produce that you're growing, like Swiss chard fritters. So good. Anyway, kohlrabi. Kohlrabi is awesome. Cool weather crop. I sow it inside because I want a head start, but you can also just wait, sow it outside in April, and be eating them in May. Okay, and then I think the last thing, I should have been going in order on my list so I don't miss anything, but I think the last thing is peas. I start my peas inside, and that may be controversial, but it works so well for me. In my area, in my growing climate here, our springs are very temperamental. They do best when things are just a nice, consistent temperature in the teens in Celsius. And so I start them early so that they actually get growing before we get 25 degrees Celsius days in May. They take at least 2 months, usually 2 to 3 months, to start really pumping out the peas. And so looking back, that's like mid-May, mid-April, mid-March. I mean, you got to start them early March. So that's what I do. I start them inside my house in early March, but then they also need to come outside soon. You can't grow peas huge in your house and then transplant them out like a month later. They don't like to transplant that well. But when they're just young, when they've just got, 3 or 4 inches of growth maximum on them, then I find they transplant great. So this is what the row covers are for again. They're not going in this bed, they're going in one over there. I'm melting the last of the snow with 2 layers of plastic row cover. And then I'm just going to keep an eye on the temperature in the beds. I don't have a soil thermometer yet, but I've gotten pretty good at gauging the soil temperature just by feeling it. And plants have done fine being transplanted out. There's flies everywhere. Spring's here. So with peas, if you have the space, you can start them indoors, transplant them out. I'm going to do a more in-depth video on that, probably a reel for Instagram, and then I'll make a short for YouTube just to show how I start them. I start them in a big tray of soil. Don't bother with little pots. And yeah, just pull them out, put them in a little trough that you make in the soil, and it's easy peasy. Here's some of the overwintered spinach that I mentioned. I've got some in this bed and some in another bed. This stuff is going to, it's edible now, but it's going to start growing. It is starting to grow. Yeah, it's going to be lush and ready in just a couple of weeks, maybe 2 weeks, and I'll have bountiful spinach harvests again. And this was stuff that was planted in September. In case I forgot to mention, this is pretty important. I am growing in Zone 5B, 6A. They're working on updating the map, so it'll be 6A. Zone isn't as important as your first and last frost date, but I will say that we get wild springs where I am, where we can drop down to like 10 below zero easily, as in like minus 10 Celsius. And then we can also get 20 degrees Celsius days throughout the spring. So it's quite a roller coaster. Like that's 30 degrees Celsius range, and that is not that unusual to have happen in our springs. Our last frost date is usually around the May Mother's Day weekend. Sometimes we still get a fluke snow later in May, but it's increasingly rare, although this year, who knows. And that's important because if you're following along and you want to start a lot of these seeds yourself, it's good to know what to start for where you're living. While my gardening zone or my gardening area, my climate, mostly my spring weather temperament and my last frost date, those are important for the dates that I'm giving you right now. You know, in general, if you're somewhere around the 43rd parallel latitude-wise, and or you have a last frost date in the spring of around early to mid-May, in general, the dates that I'm talking about in this video should apply to you as well. But always just look at those seed packages and figure out when they're going to be ready to harvest and work backwards from that. The chickens are so happy that it's almost spring. They're all out and about. Thanks for watching. I hope that you'll come and grow with us.